People with big families once had station wagons, which then gave way to minivans, and then eventually to three-row crossovers that we know today. So for this comparison, we have two of the most popular options, the Toyota Highlander and the Honda Pilot, both in their top-of-the-line configurations. These two sold nearly 350,000 units last year combined, which in the case of the Highlander is up 13% year over year. So as the market shifts and families grow, let's see which of these perennial favorites is most deserving of your money. So to start things off, let's first see what we're dealing with. Beginning with the Highlander, we have the most expensive trim, known as the Limited Platinum. It stickers at $46,660 with standard all-wheel drive. From there, we have a number of options, including $395 for the upgraded Blizzard Pearl paint, $499 for the remote start system, and $599 for the running boards. A couple more small things and destination balloon the price to $49,661. For the Pilot, we also have the highest possible trim, called Elite. It too has standard all-wheel drive and starts off at $47,470. Honda doesn't really do options, but this one does have a handful of accessories and a $975 destination charge, bringing the total to $48,991. That means the price difference between the two stands at only $670, so they are very much equivalent to each other. Now that we've established that, let's determine which one represents the best value. Let's start off getting into the vehicles. Both have the brand's typical key fobs, so on the Highlander it is plain black plastic, and on the Pilot, shiny black plastic with metal trim. Both models also have remote start, even though Toyota doesn't have a dedicated button. The doors will unlock automatically via sensors behind the handles. Just like in our full reviews, we'll start off by comparing the powertrains. Under the hoods, these two are more similar than they are different. They both have 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 engines, making 295 horsepower in the Highlander and 280 horsepower in the Pilot. On the flip side, the transmission of the Pilot has an extra gear, at 9 speeds instead of 8 speeds on the Highlander. And the similarities continue to fuel economy as well. Both have auto start-stop technology, and also come in at 22 mpg combined. The actual numbers are 20 city, 26 highway, 22 combined for the Toyota, and 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined for the Honda. Well, that covers the basics of the powertrain, so now let's move on to the exterior design and features. The first thing we're going to do is check out the styling in general. Now this is where these two start to separate a little bit. On the Highlander, you have a really large cone-shaped grille with 5 chrome bars, and the overall look is pretty aggressive. The Pilot, on the other hand, has a very simple U-shaped grille that looks straight off the last-gen CR-V. The grille extends into the headlights, which are LED low beams with LED daytime running lights. The Highlander actually cannot be had with LED headlights, but you do get LED daytime running lights and halogen fog lamps. So while the lack of LED lighting is offensive, I still prefer the more aggressive and upscale look of the Toyota. Around back, both are considerably plainer. They do have LED taillights, but that's the design highlight since neither have integrated exhaust or something else to spice things up. So I won't award any points here. While we're back here though, let's talk about the towing. They can both handle up to 5,000 pounds as equipped, which is the same as pretty much everything else in the class. Now let's start comparing all the features and specs. Starting up front, the Highlander has quite a bit more ground clearance at 8 inches instead of 7.3. Whether or not that matters in this class is a matter of opinion, but I'll award a point nonetheless. More important is that the Highlander has a tighter turning diameter. Moving on to the wheels, the Pilot has an advantage here. While the Highlander only gives you these plain looking 19-inch alloys, the Honda gives you 20 inches that are basically unaltered from the ones you'll find on the Acura MDX Advance. The brakes are nearly identical in size, ventilated in the front and solid disc in the rear. Heading to the mirrors, they are both heated, power adjusting, and have LED turn signal indicators. Neither have auto dimming abilities, though they both have blind spot monitoring. The Toyota's in the mirror and the Honda's on the inside pillar. As far as warranties, they both have the same 3-year 36,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty and 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. The reason the Highlander gets the point here is the fact that Toyota gives you 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance, which Honda does not. No matter which one you pick, you will have a vehicle that is highly rated in regards to safety. Both are 2018 IIHS top safety picks, and come loaded with advanced active safety equipment. That includes automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and auto high beam headlights. Just be aware that every Highlander has those systems, while only the top 2 trims of the Pilot get them. Lastly, the Honda has a 19.5 gallon fuel tank, compared to 19.2 gallons in the Highlander. That means since they have the same combined fuel economy, the Pilot has the greater fuel range, at 429 miles versus 422. Both use regular unleaded fuel. Well, that's it for the exteriors, but the more important space to the family is the cabin, so let's move on to that. When you first open up the door, you can already tell that both these SUVs were made for versatility. They both look spacious and airy inside, no doubt helped by the light-colored interior colors, called almond on the Highlander and beige on the Pilot. Both have real perforated leather seating. The seats themselves are 10-way power adjusting on the Honda, but the Highlander one-ups it with 12-way power adjustment, thanks to the uncommon feature of power thigh extension. Both have multi-stage heating, ventilation, and 2-person memory functions. Getting into the Highlander is no easier than the Pilot. The running boards honestly get in the way more than they help, so I'd recommend skipping them. First looking around, the designs look fairly expensive, though to me the Pilot gives off a little bit of a minivan vibe. The actual material quality on both is good. On the Highlander, the entire upper part of the dash is all nicely grained soft-touch plastic, with stitching. The middle areas have silver trim and fake wood, but the inside of the storage bin is padded. Everything else fits together really well and feels solid. On the Pilot, you have nearly identical materials, with stitched soft-touch plastic along the top portions. In the middle, Honda gives you piano black trim, and once again the lower areas are hard touch but feel solid and durable. For the door trims, they also have practically identical materials, with leather on the armrest and soft touch plastics along the top. There's no winner here unless you happen to prefer fake wood over black trim. For both, press the button to start. When you do, each has an 8-inch display which will boot up. We will evaluate the software a little later in the video. So the gauges are an area where the two look distinctly different. Toyota gives you a more traditional look compared to the Honda, but both multifunction displays measure in at 4.2 inches. So despite my preference for the Highlander's design, I won't award any points here since the functionality is the same. Both crossovers come with electric rack and pinion power steering, fed through leather-wrapped wheels. Both steering wheels have tons of buttons, are manually adjusting, and have heating. The wipers are also rain sensing on both. Now let's move on to the very important topic of storage. Honda went with minivan-like armrests to give more storage in the center. But at the end of the day, it seems pretty much equal to what's in the Highlander. Up in the front, the Pilot has another generously sized area, but it is completely outmatched by the Toyota with its extremely versatile storage shelf. Both have lots of connections, including higher voltage charging USBs. For the shifters, Toyota again went traditional and Honda futuristic. While what you prefer is a matter of preference, I will say Honda's electronic shifter is one of the easiest to get used to. Both allow for manual shifting, but only the Pilot has paddles. When put into reverse, both have backup cameras, but the Limited Platinum has a bird's eye 360-degree setup. This system also has a neat feature called perimeter scan, which basically shows you everything around the vehicle as if you were flying around it overhead. While the Pilot's camera does have 3 angles, the Highlander has definitely got it beat in this department. Moving up, both models have tri-zone automatic climate controls. While they look different, the actual controls have nearly the same layout. I appreciate that the controls are through physical buttons and not hidden within the infotainment screens. Now let's hear some audio samples. Even though the Pilot is down a couple speakers, I actually think it sounds better. I just wish they'd bring back the sorely missed volume knob. Now we're going to take a look at the infotainment. Starting with the Highlander, we have an older version of the Intune system, with handy shortcut buttons along the side. You get Bluetooth audio, phone connectivity, and nice features like weather and traffic free for life. Integrated navigation is also standard, but you certainly don't have fancy graphics or pinch to zoom. However, I have 2 major issues with this system. No Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and the screen is very dim and low res. The Pilot system addresses those 2 issues, with both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support, and a newer style screen that's easier to see. However, I did still have trouble with the screen sensitivity. This is also not the newest Honda Link software, but stuff like the Garmin-based navigation still works better than in a Toyota. Overall, I think the Pilot has the better system, but both cars would definitely benefit from the newest versions in the Accord and Camry. Wrapping things up, both vehicles come with auto-dimming rearview mirrors, the Highlander's frameless, and HomeLink universal remotes. The last difference worth mentioning is the panoramic moonroofs. They obviously both have one, but the Highlander's is one continuous piece, which is more impressive than 2 separate ones. Overall, there's no definitive winner on the inside, and both will certainly serve your family's needs. Now let's go ahead and check out the rear. Starting with the rear door trim, thankfully neither brand skimped out, with the same leather trim as in the front. Both also have sunshades for maximum comfort. Turning our attention to the back seats themselves, both the Highlander and Pilot come in with exactly 38.4 inches of legroom. However, the Pilot does have more headroom at 40.2 inches versus 39.9. They both have captain's chairs on the highest trims. As far as rear amenities go, they both have their own climate adjustments back here, and also multi-stage heated seats on these high-end trims. Below that, the Pilot has a ton of connections, mostly for the rear entertainment, but both cars have charging USBs and a household outlet. And while I don't think people need rear entertainment systems nowadays, the Pilot does give you one for the same price as the Toyota. Getting into the third row is easy in both, but only Honda makes it hands-free with only one button. Space is very tight on both, so I won't go into the actual measurements, but if you want to torture someone, put 3 people back here. There are at least air vents and cup holders. Moving around to the rear, both crossovers have power tailgates, and the Highlanders can open the glass separately. Once they open, you'll find consistently more space in the Pilot with the seats in all configurations. With the third rows up, we have 13.8 cubic feet of space in the Toyota and 16 in the Honda. With those seats folded, it is 42.3 versus 46. And with the second row folded, it is 83.7 versus 83.8. Well, with that, we conclude this in-depth comparison video. As you can see, these two are very similar in most regards, so if you're seriously interested in them, make sure you check them out in person. Thanks for joining us on this car confections comparison, and be sure to subscribe for more comparisons and our signature full review videos.